All right, welcome to the fourth video, second video for chapter 2. Probably not the last one. I think I'll do one more after this with the chapter 2. So, as you've now gotten familiar with vowel teams, you can start to pronounce them as they are found in words. You're going to learn a few other kind of important details or markings that you'll see in words. Some of them you've probably already noticed, and I've made reference to them in previous instructions just to ignore them up to this point. They're like these things like squiggly line over the upsilon, or the weird marks above the iota here, apon. So let's talk about some of these markings. The first one is called a diaresis. Diaresis. It's not super common, but it's important because the diaresis, like you can see here, is used to indicate when a vowel team, what looks like a vowel team, isn't actually working like a vowel team. You're going to, instead of pronouncing the vowel team together, you're going to pronounce the vowels separately. So here, the alpha iota, you would typically think of as the vowel team and pronounce it chi. That's not what we would have here, though. The diaresis above the iota, it's saying, oh, that iota, that alpha need to be pronounced separately. So ka, e, a, thos. Ka, e, a, thos, instead of chi, a, thos. So you hear the name, its proper name, which we pronounce in English, and our translations will be like chi, thos. But it's ka, e, a, thos. Ka, e, a, thos. So you wouldn't see that diaresis mark. And here's a sa eos. A sa eos. It's for the Greek word for Isaiah. So it often happens in Greek where the vowel teams are not vowel teams with proper names, usually the proper names that come from a different language into Greek. Again, you don't need to be too obsessed with it. When you see that mark, you'll just know to pronounce it separately, the vowels separately, but you don't need to know like when they occur or why they occur. It's just if they show up, that's what's happening. A little more significantly, or significant though, are these breathing marks. Breathing marks are placed over the beginning of words that begin with a single vowel, a vowel team, or the consonant row. See that the consonant row likes to act like a vowel sometimes. When a word begins with a single vowel or row, the breathing mark is placed over the first letter. So let's see that. Do we have any examples here? Like here, e, u, tai. There's a breathing mark over the iota at the beginning. There's a breathing mark over the alpha. And you can also see there's breathing marks over the vowel teams when they begin the words. Not there, sorry, but here's a breathing mark. Breathing mark. And what I was going to read here, when the vowel team begins a word and you have a breathing mark, the breathing mark will be over the second letter. It's over the iota. It's over the upsilon. It's over the upsilon. Upsilon. All right, so you got breathing marks that will show up on words that begin with a vowel team, with a letter row. There are two types of breathing marks. There's what's called a smooth breathing mark, and oh, how it's looking on your screen, but sorry, I keep covering my mouth. That's probably not good for recording. This is a smooth breathing mark. Got to find a better way to hold that there. Or, I don't know. I'll try to make it a little better in the copy I send you, but you can see it curves out like that. So the smooth breathing mark, is there an example? It's like, yeah, here over udes, or over iona, or I won't do that one. You. So these are all smooth breathing marks over the upsilon, over the iota, over the upsilon. Smooth breathing marks.
The curve is pointing to the right. When you see a smooth breathing mark, it's easy. It doesn't affect pronunciation. Um, it's these breathing marks kind of have an ancient history. We don't need to worry about a smooth breathing mark when we see it. We're just gonna like recognize, oh, smooth breathing mark, sweet. There it is. It doesn't change how you pronounce the word. Here are some examples from the previous sections of words that begin with a smooth breathing mark. So practice saying them. Iona, Iona, ook, autu, apon, and eon. Okay, smooth breathing mark. Recognize it, but then move on. Doesn't matter. A rough breathing mark, though, which is like our English apostrophe, does something to the pronunciation. If there is a rough breathing mark at the beginning of a word, here are some examples. You're going to add an H sound to the beginning of the word. So there's no letter H in Greek or anything that corresponds with the letter H in Greek. But the H sound is going to be communicated or reflected with this rough breathing mark. So this word begins with an omicron, but it's not pronounced ati, it's pronounced hati, because you got the rough breathing mark. There's another mark there as well, which I'll talk about in the next section. It's an accent mark, but this is a hati. Oh, this is pronounced hati. Here you have an example of rough breathing mark over the row, and it's going to add the H. This one's hard to do, but you'll need to practice. Pray, prema, prema. Here, the rough breathing mark is above the eta. Hey is how you pronounce it. Hey. Here we have that fun vowel team, upsilon iota. So by itself, it would be we, oi. But with the rough breathing mark, it's hui, oi. It's even funner. Hui, oi. And then this is how, tai. So the rough breathing mark is really important because it will impact pronunciation. So you got to recognize that English apostrophe over beginning vowels or vowel teams or the beginning row, you got to add an H. Okay, so practice those words and you'll see more examples below. There are also markings called accent marks. There are 3 different kinds of accent marks. I give you them here. Acute, grave, circumflex. There are some factors later on where the accent marks will help us with some things, but right now, best thing we can do with an accent mark is we're gonna just use it to stress that syllable in a word. So where you have an accent mark in a word, we're gonna stress the syllable. So here we have, going back up here, we, oi. So this is an acute accent mark. So it doesn't matter if it's acute, you just recognize it's an accent mark, and you're going to just stress that syllable. We oi, or we oi. If you don't do it perfectly, it can get tricky with some of this, but do your best to just stress the syllable that has the accent mark. So pray, ma, ha, ti, ow, tie, or sorry, how, tie. Okay, so you're going to see those 3, and they show up all over the place. And every word will have an accent mark. So only words that begin with vowel, team, or row will have a breathing mark, but every word will have an accent mark. Actually, there's exceptions to that, but most 99.67% of the words will have accent marks. So kai, ow, tu, there's a circumflex there. How to. Here you have a circumflex at the last syllable, ophthalmois, ophthalmois. Here are the circumflex accent marks in the beginning, or the middle, I'm sorry. So it's e, u, tai, e, u, tai, e, u, tai. Again, don't get too hung up on getting it precise stress, but that's generally the pattern you want to go for. Practice of stressing the syllable with the accent mark. Here you're going to learn the iota can do what's called subscript, and you can read that there. All these are all examples of the iota subscript. The gamma nasal is kind of a funny name for what happens when two gammas come together in a word. When two gammas come together in the word, the first gamma is going to change its sound to a new sound. So here we don't say aggelos, we say angelos. Clearly, this is where we get our English word angel from, angelos. And we don't, and even though there's two gammas in the Greek, because the two gammas next to each other, when that happens, the first gamma is going to change its sound to a new angelos. Same thing happens when a gamma is followed by a key, a kappa, a key, or the letter C. These aren't as common as the double gamma, but they do show up a little bit. So here's an example. Gamma followed by a kappa, so N crufios, and crufios. This one's a fun one. Look at all these letters that come together to form one syllable, because there's one vowel, so one syllable. So splong, so the gamma key, the gamma is going to be an N sound. So splong na, splonk na. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. So when you see the gamma like that, by two gammas together, first one's going to take an N sound. Or if the gamma is followed by a kappa or key, that gamma is going to change its sound to new. With the C, it's even more rare. I don't even have an example to show you, but at least not from the New Testament. All right, so now you're going to take everything you know, breathing marks, accent marks, vowel teams, iota subscripts, gamma nasals. I can't remember what else you've covered, but that's good. And then put it together with these words here. So this is like a culmination section. So take your time to work through it. Again, the syllables are divided with the dash. I've also continued to highlight vowel teams so you can practice seeing those vowel teams. I'll do a few examples, but hopefully you can work through these on your own. If you get stuck, you can always reach out to me. The, oo, that, oo. So I tried to stress that second syllable. Hopefully that came across. Here's this accent mark in the first, ska, te, skate, skate. Here's that vowel team, eta, upsilon, the U sound. So you, xanen, you, yuxanen, yuxanen. And if you're struggling through it, look at, I struggle too. I've been doing this for like 20 something years. Here is vowel team, au, augustu, augustu. Can you recognize what that might be? Caesar Augustus, Augustu. Here we have a rough breathing mark one. Haute, haute. All right, I'll do a little bit of the harder ones here. And by the way, you should be writing these in the blank. So that's important to practice writing these words as well. Here's a good one. You, so on, this gamma will be a new because the following letter is a gamma. So the gamma nasal. You on ge li so za, sorry, my. You on my. It's a big one. You on my means I preach good news. I preach the gospel. Anything else? Oh, the accent mark there. You got some vowel teams, but then the gamma nasal. Here's an example of the iota subscript, which you read about. I didn't highlight in the video, but you'll see the iota at the end of a word, but it's underneath a long vowel. In this case, it's underneath an eta. Do I have any more examples? Oh yeah, here it's underneath the iota. I'm sorry, the omega.
Same thing with this one. When you see that situation, it doesn't affect pronunciation, but you do need to recognize there is an iota subscript there. A little dash under the long vowel is that iota. So here you have de. The iota will say I because the following letters kappa. So de, kai, ah, its own syllable, ah, su, ne. De kaya sune. De kaya sune. All right. And then I talk about pronunciation, punctuation marks like periods, what look like semicolons but aren't. Question marks can be a little confusing, but make sure you read through that section there. Now, final part, actually, here you're going to take those very words
that were divided and practice writing that, speaking them in a paragraph. So I guess I'll do that here. Dikayasune, auto, skate, theu. By the way, it's a meaningless paragraph. Doesn't make any sense. Huresete, huresete, angelo, haute, augustu, euangelitzamai, skate, hemeras, euxanen, euxanen. Here's a fun one with a rough breathing mark and the we vowel. We oi. Splunk na. Exousia ophthalmoi. Dikayasune. Rema. So rough breathing mark with the row. Rema. Par el usetai. Par el usetai. Haute hemeros. A za diaresis, a za ios, hautai, auto, use, uresite. Here we have a gamma nasal situation with the gamma and the kappa, and crufias, a hati. Tauta, a noixen, dikaiasune, arel Augustu. Okay, so make sure you can read that pretty fluently, with confidence. And then you're going to move on to this last section, which is a pretty cool section, in my opinion. It's the first verses of John's Gospel. And everything you've learned up to this point, you can apply to reading the actual Greek New Testament. In this first section, I've divided the multi-syllable words up to help with pronunciation. I've also bolded the vowel teams. Hopefully I was consistent there. I meant to be, and it looks like it's pretty good. And then, so practice this section with the breaks in the syllables and just keep going over and over it. At the end, you should be able to read this paragraph. Okay, and this will be what will be due week 1 of the class is you have to read this paragraph to me. So it's the first quiz, week 1, reading this paragraph. Everything you've been learning, practicing consistently, you should be able to do it. Maybe I'll read it here. This video is getting a little bit long, but it might be helpful for you to hear it, and then you can practice it for yourself. I'll do it with this version. NRK, ain, halagos. I forgot to do the highlighter for this video. I'm sure you are all wondering about that. Sorry, that was a very distracted thing. I'll try it again. NRK, ain, ha, logos. Rough breathing. Hi, ha, logos, ain, cross, ton. Oops, I can't see it because of the screen here. Theon. So this is a little funky, but a few of these words here at the end are going over to the next line with the dash. I might fix that in the copy I sent you. I might not though. I'll see if I remember. Kai theos ein ha logos. Hutas ein NRK cross ton theon. Anta dia autu geneta kai choris. Sorry, choris. Choris. Autu geneta ude en ha geganen en auto zoe ein kai. Sorry, rough breathing mark, I missed it. Hey, zoe ein ta phos ton anthropon. Hi, ta phos ente scatia fine. Kai, hey, scatia alta u cat el. I gotta fix that. Sorry about that. That's a mistake in the syllable break. Katalaben geneta anthropos a pe. I gotta fix this one too. Sorry. A pe. It's gonna be the sigma's gonna go with the next one. A pestal me menas. Wow, I really messed that one up. I apologize. I'll fix it though for your copy. Para theu anima auto Ioannes utas eilthen ace marturion hina, rough breathing mark, hina marturese, what's the other subject there? Marturese peri, that's one. Two photons hina pontes stusosin d how to. I don't think I talked about that symbol. Sorry, it's there. We'll talk about it later on. But don't worry about that symbol. Just say D for delta here. All right, hopefully that made some sense. Make sure you can read this paragraph down here smoothly, fluently, proficiently, confidently by week 1 of the semester. And if you do, you'll get off to a great start. 1, with the first grade. 2, you'll feel very, very comfortable moving on to the next chapters, which gets into the grammar. How to actually make sense of all these strange looking things. All right, have a great summer. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to email me anytime.